Everybody, Sue Colquitt, and I chair our Democratic Party. I'd like to ask you to come on in and kind of get seated. I know some people they've dived into their salads, which is great, so that we can get this party going. We're going to be starting our program in just a couple of minutes, so we really need you to get in your seats, and you're welcome to get started on your salad. It's good to see you. It's great that you're in Sun River. It's great. It's a great moment in your life to be a committed Democrat. So come on in and start sitting. Hey, thank you, Senator Lou, for that magic. If you're here for our keynote dinner, our evening meal, we are so happy that you are here. We want you to come in and get seated. We're going to get started with our program in just about 5 minutes. So we really do want you inside. I can't see you that well, so I hope you can see me, but whatever the case, you are a beautiful audience, and you're here with us and working with our Democrats. I'm hoping that if you came last night and was here for the reception with our governor, and you've been here most of the day for our breakfast with our statewide electeds and our congressional lunch with our congressional leaders, and earlier tonight for the President's Council reception, and all day for some pretty terrific panels. I hope things are going well for you, because it's great to have you here this week. You love Sun River? You love this lodge? I do. I really do. Yeah. So I'm wondering if Candy is anywhere nearby. You are. You are. Hello. Hi, Candy. How you doing? Superstar. She's a superstar. You're looking at a superstar. Yes. She's a superstar. I know because I get to be with her during the day. Now, I've asked her to come to the stage. Thank you for applauding her. She is one of the most wonderful, smartest, hardest working people I know. I get a little dizzy at times watching her work, but I get over my dizziness. But tonight I've asked her to come to the stage to lead us in singing Oregon, My Oregon. If you don't know the song, there's a sheet at your table and the words are on the back. Thank you, everybody. Candy, please.
Rosa. This is one of my favorite songs, but it's more my favorite after our amazing legislature changed the lyrics for us, so we appreciate that. And if you know the words, sing along, and if you don't, they're right in front of you. Land of majestic mountains, land of the great Northwest, forests and rolling rivers, grandest and the best. Onward and upward ever, forward and on, hail to thee, land of heroes, my Oregon. Land of the rose and sunshine, land of the summer's breeze, laden with health and vigor, fresh from the western sea. Blessed by the love of freedom, land of the setting sun. Hail to thee, land of promise, my Oregon.
Yes, our DPO has our own superstar. Now I'd like to, Nathan Saltz and Eileen Kiley, I'd like for you to come to the stage. Yeah. Oh, did you forget? Oh, you didn't realize it was. So short.
Here. Need to go. We'll make it work. Hello, Democrats. So, Nathan, as of last night, you had not yet filed your SEL 105 to become a PCP. Did you take care of that?
Marion County, here, I'll be on your ballot now.
Oh, and Nathan, how did you do that?
Online, all you had to Google, PCP, SEL 105, fill it out online, took me 3 minutes.
Woo! All right, so how many of you are PCPs now? We need to see a lot more hands. And you know what? You can get it done before I read through all of the list of sponsors that we're going to get through in the next. So thank you so much to all of our sponsors that are here tonight. Please, I know you never do this, but I'm still asking. Please hold your applause until we. Our premier sponsors, Senator Ron Wyden, UFC, yeah, see, right away. UFCW Local 555 and Oregon Ranked Choice Voting. And our platinum sponsors, Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians, IBEW Local 48, Senator Jeff Merkley, yeah, plus Governor Tina Kotek, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Oregon Federation of Nurse and Health Practitioners, Oregon Education Association, SEIU, Local 8, Local 49, Espousal Strategies. Yeah, we hear you, Salome. And King Estate Wineries, Morel Inc., NGP Van, and New Sun Energy. Oh my God, Jake, I forgot your last name. And we love you, Jake. Target Smart and PacWest Lobby Group.
And now our gold sponsors, Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, Congresswoman Val Hoyle, Congresswoman Andrea Salinas, Treasurer Tobias Reed, Senate President Rob Wagner, man who signs my checks, I'm saying it again so he doesn't forget, State Senator Lou Frederick, State Senator James Manning, State Senator Elizabeth Steiner, House Speaker Dan Rayfield, Act Blue, Blue States PAC, Deliver Strategies, Elevated Campaigns, Future PAC, OPAD Consulting, SDLF, Stones Phones, and Winning Mark are our gold sponsors.
And our silver sponsors, Labor Commissioner Christina Stevenson, Senate Majority Leader Kate Lieber, State Representative Ben Bowman, State Representative Rob Nose, Metro President Lynn Peterson, Oregon State Building and Construction Trades Council, Iron Workers Local 29, Joint Council of Teamsters 37, Northwest Oregon Labor Council, AFL-CIO, Smart Transportation Division, Barnett Strategies, Bright Blue Inc., Empirical Media, Oregon Wild, The Pivot Group,
Stewart Collective, and Winning Connections. Woo! All right. Yay, sponsors.
Now for a very special. Are we? A very special group of sponsors, our donors. So as I call out our donor groups, will you please wave as I call them? First, our President Circle. Please, President Circle members. Thank you. Our Capital Circle members. And finally, our grassroots donors. Thank you. Thank you all. You give us the base of support we need to win our campaigns and to run them early and win. Additionally, we are honored to have senators, congressional leaders, statewide elected officials, tribal leaders, legislators, and local elected officials here throughout the weekend. Please, if you are an elected official, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. And a very special thank you to our workshop speakers who have traveled from across the state and country to provide us with innovative ideas for the future of our party and our state. Thank you. This weekend would not be possible without you. And we also have a host of volunteers helping us this weekend. Please, thank you, volunteers. And now back to our intrepid, indefatigable chair, our chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon, Dr. Rosa Colquitt.
All right. This is still okay. Okay. I'm going to switch to testing. We're switching to a different mic. Matt, I'm just double checking something. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for that moment of attention. Again, I'd like to let you know, in serving this party, I know you're not interested in my sleeping habits, but I did want you to know that I wake up every morning feeling really grateful for the opportunity to serve the Democratic Party of Oregon. That means serving you, working with you, working alongside you, and knowing that I'm doing everything that I can to work for you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight at the 2023 Oregon Summit. We really have a great program, and I'd like to get some things started, so I'm glad you got quiet a little bit. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our DPO officers who are doing a great job representing Oregon as members of the DPO and staff of the DPO. First, our Executive Director, Brad Martin. Deputy Director, Candy Emmons. Data Director, Jonathan Rudolph. Development Director, Claire Hubler-Curtis. Compliance Director, Amelia Manlove. Digital Director Eric Smith, Political Organizing Coordinator Ron Morgan, Development Assistant Nigar Hosseini Nisab, and Operations Assistant Alex Schaefer. Again, if you don't know the members of the DPO staff, you haven't had a reason to send an email or to call the office, this weekend is a great time to meet them. You'll know them by their yellow name badges. So before we move to a very special award this evening, I have a few minutes in the program for my chair's remarks. This means I'm not doing housekeeping right now, but I wanted to talk with you from the perspective of a leader. Decided that I want to share with you some thoughts that are always present in my mind, always very central in my heart. In my African American heritage, it is a custom when speaking to a large, brilliant, august audience like this one, that I honor those who carried me along to the journey, the place where I am now today. I stand here tonight on the shoulders of some very powerful ancestors. I live for them. I live with their spirit in my heart. Along with my parents and my grandparents, I stand in the spirit of my namesake, Mrs. Rosa Parks, a quiet and gentle woman. Yes, please applaud my partner. She said these simple words, and they changed a nation, changed the world, I think. And these are the simple words that she said, and I quote, "I said so that others could have freedom." Friends and fellow and sister Democrats, I believe that we're still fighting for freedom. I think about freedom all the time, continually, even when I'm not giving Juneteenth presentations. I think about freedom. Many of you will remember National Youth Poet Laureate Amanda Gorman, who recited her poem, and I quote, "The Hill We Climb," during the inauguration of President Joe Biden on January 20, 2021. The poem celebrates the U.S. not as a perfect union, but as a country that has the grit to struggle with its real problems. Progress, the poem argues, doesn't happen all at once. It is a slow and sometimes painful climb up the hill of justice. And I make this analogy to the work that we must do here in Oregon and nationally to continue the progress that is so critical to maintaining our freedoms. We have the opportunity in 2023 and 2024 to climb that hill that Amanda Gorman so eloquently speaks of by bringing new perspectives, new voices, and new communities into our political process. That's how we strengthen our roles. That's how we strengthen our reach. We need to win back local races we lost in 2022. We need to win back Congressional District 5 to protect all of our congressional seats and to regain our supermajority in the Oregon legislature. And I'm looking at Rob Wagner. And we must do the work. And I heard President Ken Martin say this tonight. We must do the work to keep President Biden and Vice President Harris in the White House, maintain the Senate, and take back the House. Please, please remember that. This is how we protect the freedom that Mrs. Rosa Parks spoke about. And tonight, I am so happy to tell you, as chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon, that there is no one, nobody I would rather climb that hill with other than you, my sister and brother Democrats. I am elated to spend this amazing evening and this amazing weekend with you. I'm going to wake up every day and think about you. I give you my love. And now I would like to ask Matt Keating. He's one of my colleagues. He's a great guy. He's a newlywed. That's why he has a smile on his face. And he's going to do an award for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our chair, Chair Dr. Rosa Colquitt. Appreciate your sentiment and your words, Chair. Where we've come from, just as important, where we're going. He had the strongest handshake, biggest heart, an infectious smile, love of our state in his heart. He was the 23rd Secretary of State, the Honorable Bill Bradbury. I relished my time with Bill. Katie, you're the luckiest. You got to spend the most time, Bill. We'd travel up down I-5, help Bill get his Segway into his car. I believe Bill, well, he was diagnosed with MS in 1981, and I believe was the longest serving and highest ranking elected official with MS in the history of these United States. Aaron Sorkin may have been paying attention. When Bill passed, we're devastated. And our hearts are with you, Katie Iman. What little I could do was craft a resolution to the DNC honoring my friend, my former boss. Tell you, when you staff Bill Bradbury in the building, I worked on his gubernatorial campaign in 2010. We had the fortune to come back to Salem. When you staff Bill Bradbury in the building, it's like staffing David Bowie at a rock concert. It is just wild. He knows everyone. Everyone knows. So if he were here, he'd probably let out a woo. So I'm not going to read through this whole resolution because I see my time is up. So I'm going to pick out just a handful of these before I bring up Katie Iman to receive posthumously the Democratic Party of Oregon's coveted Roosevelt Award to Bill Bradbury. So let's hear a woo for vote by mail. Let's hear a woo for the sake of salmon. Let's hear a woo for the inventor of OrStar, transparent accounting of dollars spent on our campaigns. Let's hear a woo for Katie Iman, and let's hear a resounding woo for our 23rd Secretary of State. The Roosevelt Award goes to Bill Bradbury. This is Katie Iman.
Thank you. Not working? Okay, this is working. Okay, it's very important that you hear everything. Remember this here for a moment. Okay, I hope that's okay. Well, I'll just put. Okay, don't want to hurt the Democratic Party. Bill loved the Democratic Party. It's a real honor to accept the Roosevelt Award on behalf of my beloved Bill Bradbury. It's true. does exemplify democratic values. So, in his words, Bill's life was celebrated last Sunday in Portland. I have programs left over thanks to the generous design work and Scott Ballo. So I was able to put a QR code on the bottom of each program, easily get access to the link to watch this program. Have the program, now you have the link to watch it. Get one of these cards from, or pick up one near the registration table and call. So here's a little unknown story. It's never been told publicly about Bill Bradbury. Bill took democratic values very seriously. While in college, like many of you, Bill opposed the Vietnam. Bill went to a protest in Cincinnati, Ohio. Doc sat in at a draft center. He was arrested, jail. Later at his trial, convicted of trespass. So at the sentence, Bill was ordered by the court never come to Cincinnati, Ohio again. So Bill followed his sentence, but while Secretary of State, he had a meeting in Cincinnati. So with a little trepidation, went to Cincinnati. Thankfully, he was not arrested. When Bill first got to Oregon in the early 1970s, my father, Richard O. Eyman, Dick Eyman, D. Lane County, was Speaker of the House. Tom McCall was governor. And Senate Bill 100 was passed, creating land use. Bill was impressed with the power of ordinary people, Oregonians, to shape the government and the land around them. Bill used his skill with video equipment to record the town hall meetings that were held at that time to talk about land use planning. You can see these videos in a documentary about land use called an OregonStory.com. So this documentary, write that down. Look up an OregonStory.com to see a historical documentary about the land use planning in Oregon. How ordinary people, their words now shaped Oregon is. So Bill's legislative accomplishments include the Salmon and Trout Enhancement Program, small business developments, letting the best vote by mail system in the country, and ORSTAR making campaign finance transparent for all of you. So Bill was nicked the Big Shook by Governor Kitzhaber, and Bill wore to rags 2 t-shirts with this design. It says, it's a little known fact that fish grow on trees. And after he died, a friend said, well, let's put Bill Bradbury's signature on the bottom. So it is. Ron Wyden said, Bill Bradbury, my friend Bill Bradbury, arts and amplify the best of what it means to public service, always working to make beloved Oregon a better place. Everybody have Bill battling MS with trademark relentless optimism showed us all how to bring sheer toughness to life's. Governor Kotek said Bradbury was a true warrior for the environment and a man of heart and humor. Senator Jeff Merkley said, around Bill was always a celebration. Jennifer Anders, Ohio, from Idaho, served Bill on the Northwest Power Council. What are we going to do without that radiant smile and outrageous laugh? Oh, and don't forget the woohoo moments. Woohoo! So if you ever experience Bill's energy, his smile, I'd like you to stand up now. Stand up for where you're sitting. Stand up if you ever personally experienced Bill's energy. Thank you. Keep standing. There's more. Keep standing. Keep standing. Now, all the people that are sitting down, I want you to look up at the people at your table that are standing up, nearby tables. I want all the people standing up to look at all the people that are sitting down. I want you to smile at each other and just make a commitment, talk to each other so the people down can hear about the energy of Bill Bradbury. And that positive energy he brought to life, public service, and the planet. And like Bill, I'd like you to keep smiling at each other, all the people you see in the world. Thank you.
Good evening, Democrats. I said good evening, Democrats. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, my name is Travis Nelson, pronouns he, him, his. I'm an officer of the party, one of Oregon's representatives on the Democratic National Committee, and I'm honored to be the state representative for House District 44, North and Northeast Portland. So I've been given the honor of introducing our next speaker tonight. A man whose actions speak so much louder than words. Jeff Merkley is a Senate leader on civil rights, introducing the Equality Act to end discrimination for our LGBTQ+ community. The Senate leader on affordable prescription drugs, insisting that America should set the best price on drugs and not the worst. The Senate leader on climate, pushing for a faster transition to renewable energy and leading the movement to keep fossil fuels in the ground. The Senate leader on protecting the ballot, leading the fight on the For the People Act to end dark money in campaigns and protecting the ballot box for every single American. He's our U.S. Senator who consistently supports organized labor, showing up time and time again on the picket line, where I've been honored to stand with him on more than one occasion. Jeff Merkley is fighting for every single corner of Oregon, leading on and delivering funding for over 300 community-initiated projects across the state. He's our roots and boots senator who holds a town hall in each of our 36 counties each and every year. Everybody, please join me in welcoming U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley! There you go, Senator.
All right, everybody. So to continue to kind of recognize the spirit of Bill Bradbury, I remember the first time I met him, I came home to Mary, and I said, I met the man with the most infectious, positive energy that I've ever seen in my entire lifetime, Bill Bradbury. Woo-hoo! And then when I ran for the U.S. Senate, my team said the first thing you have to do is sit down and see how Bill Bradbury works the phone. And so for an hour, I sat with him, and every single person he talked to donated because of that positive experience, that positive connection, and the principle. All right, so in his kind of vein of how to approach the battles that we fight. We're so often, we forget about the victories we've had, and we're just facing the challenges ahead. Don't stop and celebrate enough. There were some things to celebrate out of Congress, and Katie's going to help me out here to celebrate each one of them in Bill Bradbury style. First, a CHIPS Act that brought manufacturing back to the United States of America. Second of all, the biggest investment in infrastructure since the Eisenhower Interstate Highway Act. And third of all, the Inflation Reduction Act, the biggest investment in a transition to renewable energy of any legislature anywhere in the world. Well, those of you who know me, I know that I don't stop to celebrate enough. And in fact, I'm always thinking about the challenges ahead and how much we have to change and how quickly we have to do it because the world needs that change. And so I'm going to run through some things very quickly. And let's start with housing. Our state legislature and Tina Kotek did a great job investing in housing. Well done. But let's do more. First of all, the mortgage interest reduction should only apply to your first home, not your second, third, fourth, fifth, your vacation home. And let's use the proceeds to help everyone have a decent home in a decent community. Second of all, hedge funds are driving up the cost of houses across America. You've heard about it. They're giving all cash offers, no inspection, higher prices on homes for families, higher rents. So let's pass my act to get hedge funds out of housing. They should be homes for families, not profit centers for Wall Street. And let's talk drugs. Let's talk drugs. Well, that $35 cap on the cost of insulin per month, that's helping out a lot of people. And we've got our toe in the door on negotiating the price of drugs on 10 high-priced drugs only for Medicare. But it's a great start, but it's only a start. Let's proceed to recognize that we Americans invest more in R&D for developing drugs than any other nation, any other developed nation. We should get the best price among developed nations, not the worst. All right, let's turn to climate. Biggest test facing humanity. 100-degree water off the coast of Florida. We're talking about 1,000-year droughts and floods instead of 100-year droughts and floods. Lahaina burning to the ground in Hawaii, and we know that all too well from our 2020 Labor Day fires. The devastation is affecting our farms, affecting our ranches, our forests, and our fishing, so very much a rural issue. We do need to send a message to our beloved President Joe Biden to go a little faster and firmer. One message: declare a climate emergency so he can use the full powers of the executive branch to take on climate. The second message: stop greenlighting new fossil projects like drilling in the Gulf and the Willow Project. And third message: every single project we launch, let's make sure it's done with high-quality union labor as we rebuild the energy economy across America. I want to talk about Ukraine for a moment. We have to continue to support the people of Ukraine. They are paying with their lives. Let's at least maintain our support for them. If we do not, it will be a Munich moment. Remember, Chamberlain went over to Germany and he said, okay, Hitler, it's okay if you take a big slice off Czechoslovakia, we'll just declare peace in our time. And what happened was an unfolding of World War II as a result. Well, if we fail to support Ukraine, a democracy, in its moment of need about aggression from an autocracy, we will shatter the Atlantic Alliance with Europe, we will fracture the trust that underlines NATO, and we will yield leadership in the world to the autocracies of China and Russia. We will let down freedom-loving people across this globe. Let's continue to stand with the people of Ukraine and pass the support to make that happen. So legislatures, to be effective in a democracy, they have to work. Well, we have some dysfunction in the House of Representatives, yes, but also in the U.S. Senate, also in the Oregon legislature. So here's the thing. Let's repair the system so that the minority in the Oregon House and the Oregon Senate can never veto good legislation by walking out. And let's fix the U.S. Senate so the minority can never veto good legislation by refusing to close debate. You know, everything we care about, healthcare, housing, education, civil rights, all of it, climate, it can't happen if the legislative process is jammed up. So, question, do you want progressive government buy-in for the people? Do you want to kick hedge funds out of housing and have a decent home for a decent community for every family in need? Do you want to make sure that we get the best price in the developed world for drugs, not the worst price? And by the way, let's kick out the pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs along the way, and have the ability to have a Medicare for all for opportunity for every American. You want to shut down dark money and establish vote by mail to guarantee the ballot to every single American. And accelerate the transition to renewable energy and keep fossils in the ground. And do you want to stand with democracies against autocracies, protecting and defending freedom? Well, if you do, then you have to be on the battlefield. You know, David went on the battlefield, and it was said he didn't have much chance, but he won. And you don't win if you're not on the battlefield. So being on the battlefield means in this coming election cycle, we have to be in the streets knocking on doors. We have to be in the call room making calls to our citizens. We need to be helping raise the funds so that our great candidates who are knocking on doors are supported thoroughly. We need to rally in our neighbor-to-neighbor program. The most phenomenal neighbor-neighbor program in the United States of America is right here in Oregon, talking to our neighbors. If we do all this, then we will, in fact, not only be on the battlefield, we will win, and winning matters for the future of our community, of our state, of our country, and of the world. Thank you very much.
Let's take the lights down just a little bit. Thank you, not that much. I didn't say put us in the dark. Are we going to get that taken care of? All right. Now we're going to need a flashlighter in here. Jonathan, can we get that corrected? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Senator Merkley, and thank you, Representative Fahey. I want to introduce someone who has waited patiently all day today, and I'm not going to cut time. I'm going to give this person the introduction that he is worthy of having. He has impact all over this country. Oregon is one of many states in which he is working to have impact. He's a winner. He can teach us and tell us how to win. You've heard a lot about the trifecta in Minnesota, but it's a whole lot more than that. Ken Martin is the keynote speaker for our 12th Biennial Oregon Summit. Many of you had an opportunity to meet Ken earlier this evening, so you already know what a wonderful person he really is. There are so many accolades, I hardly know where to begin. In addition to serving as chairman of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, the acronym for that is DFL, Ken is the president of the Association of State Democratic Committees, ASDC, where I've had the opportunity to hear him speak many times, and I come away almost always even more encouraged and amazed. And he is the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Chairman Martin is currently serving his 6th term as the chairman of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, DFL, the Minnesota branch of the Democratic Party. He has held this post since 2011, making him the longest-serving chairman in the 75-year history of the DFL. Under Ken's leadership, the DFL party has seen unprecedented success electorally, financially, and organizationally. Chairman Martin has not lost a statewide election during his time as chair, and there has never been a period in DFL party history that has seen more electoral success up and down the ballot. Very importantly, the ASDC president, Ken, created a comprehensive, I get a little nerdy at times too, like our bully leader, to increase our Democratic Party support for state party organizations. The vision was to create a true partnership with the DNC and a real 57 state party strategy to build durable, long-lasting infrastructure. Please join me in a warm Oregon applause of welcome for Chairman Ken Martin.
Let's hear it for Rosa again, your fantastic chairwoman. I really appreciate the kind introduction, but let me tell you, Rosa has one of the toughest jobs in politics. As my governor says when he introduces me, he says it's a political equivalency of being a fire hydrant, right? And I'll tell you, you get none of the thanks, and of course, you get none of the credit when you win, and you get all of the blame when you lose. But I wanted to thank you, Rosa. I wanted to thank you for stepping into this role and for all the work she's already done. So quickly after getting elected to this position, she came out to her first ASDC meeting, and she's already a big part of our association. Thank you so much, Rosa, Chairwoman, for all your work. I also want to thank Leader Fahey for leading the appeal tonight. It's fantastic. Hopefully you raised lots of money. And I want to thank Senator Merkley. You know, I got my start with a bushy-haired college professor named Paul Wellstone, who ran for the Senate in 1990. I went to work for him in Washington. And Paul used to say that He represented the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. And I want to thank Senator Merkley for continuing to stand up and represent the Democratic wing of our Democratic Party. Now, I also want to say how excited I was last evening to see your elected officials let their hair down a little bit. I saw some great karaoke last night by your Attorney General and your Senate Majority Leader. It was a lot of fun, so thank you for having fun at these events. It's really critical. I also want to acknowledge some of your other great party leaders here with us tonight. Let's hear it for Kim Schmidt, one of your DPO vice chairs. Eileen Kiley, DPO vice chair. Nathan Stoltz, your DPO secretary. Eddie Morales, the DPO treasurer. Travis Nelson, Matt Keating, and Michelle Risher, DNC committee members. And I also want to thank my wonderful friends, Brad Martin and Candy Emmons, two of the great leaders nationally who play a critical role in our association, building our party not just here in Oregon, but throughout the country. So let me just start here by saying, on behalf of President Biden, Vice President Harris, and our chairman, Jamie Harrison, I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for all of the work you have done and all of the work you will do to build the Oregon Democratic Party for this upcoming election. In 2024, each of you will be responsible for turning Oregon completely blue when we defeat Cliff Bent in CD2 and Lori Chavez DeRaymer in CD5 with all of your help. But while we have so much to celebrate, both in Oregon, Minnesota, and beyond, our hearts are heavy with sorrow with what's happening in the Middle East. And to my Muslim and Jewish friends here with us tonight, I am so very sorry for what is happening and the deep pain this war has and will cause. I think it's critical that we take a moment to reflect on the events of the last week, the last 2 weeks, and the lessons they have for our democracy. When Hamas kidnapped, slaughtered, and injured thousands of Israelis 2 weeks ago, it was, of course, the deadliest anti-Jewish violence we have seen since the Holocaust. It's been weighing on me heavily, and I'm sure on many of you. During my own trip to Israel last September, I visited a kibbutz close to Gaza, Kfar Aza. It was one of the areas hardest hit by Hamas, and many of the people I met are missing or dead. Others barely escaped, and they almost certainly witnessed the worst of humanity while fleeing for their lives. Now, condemning the slaughter we saw also does not mean minimizing civilian deaths in Gaza. The lives of innocent Palestinians have also been lost. We can and should mourn the loss of all innocent lives lost in this conflict. See, we can condemn the attacks by Hamas, a terrorist organization, unequivocally, while also holding true to the belief that the Palestinian people deserve a free state of their own in a two-state solution. That Palestinians have a right to self-determination. That there is no path to a lasting peace that doesn't include a safe, democratic Israel and a self-governing Palestine free from the kind of violence practiced by Hamas. But you see, calling out that kind of political violence is a matter of basic human decency, but it's also a matter of the values that we have recently become even more important to our politics and to who we are as Democrats. The most fundamental principle of our democracy is that we resolve our country's difference with ballots, not with the kind of political violence we saw over the last 2 weeks. That used to be a bipartisan principle that we could take for granted in the United States. A few short years ago, it would have been unthinkable for an entire political party to make excuses for the violent attack on our Capitol on January 6th. It would have been unthinkable that a president of the United States would try to overthrow a free and fair election and cling to power, or that the Republican Party would be eagerly preparing to renominate him. But here's the good news, Democrats. Last November, we had our first major test of what it looks like when one party campaigns for democracy and the other party runs on overthrowing it. Democracy wins. Democracy wins. Last November, democracy was on the ballot from Arizona to Pennsylvania, and democracy won up and down the ballot. And that didn't happen by accident. It happened because of you. Democracy survived because of your hard work knocking doors, raising money, making phone calls, talking to your friends, getting your neighbors out to vote. And mark my words, if democracy is going to survive this next election, we're going to need you to do it again. But as important as it is to remain vigilant and clear-eyed about the unprecedented threats to our democracy, it's also important to remember how many people's lives have been improved by that democracy, by the Democrats who defied the odds to win up and down the ballot last year from Oregon to Minnesota. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for standing up and fighting back. In 2022, pundits, media outlets, pollsters counted the Democratic Party out. But thanks to your hard work, we defied all the odds and we won up and down the ballot. Nationally, think about this. Democrats expanded our majority in the Senate. In fact, it was the first midterm since 1934 that the president's party didn't lose a single incumbent senator. Because of you, we increased the number of Democratic governors and had the best midterm for Democratic governors' races for the president's party since 1986. Because of you, we had the first midterm where the party in the White House didn't lose a single state legislative chamber since 1934. Not one single chamber. We flipped the legislatures in Minnesota and Michigan, creating Democratic majorities which are delivering amazing progressive public policy. And because of Democrats, every single election denier running for governor or secretary of state was defeated. So look, Democrats, we have 380 days until the 2024 election. Who's counting? I'm counting. I hope each of you are counting. Because as I said earlier, we have three commodities in elections, right? It's time, it's people, and money. We can always raise a few more bucks. We can always recruit a few more volunteers, but the one thing we can't get back is time. So my ask of all of you this evening is to make sure you use every single minute, every single day, every single hour you can to do something for our candidates, to lift up our party, to lift up our values. It doesn't have to be grand. Just one conversation a day can make a big difference. Now look, I had a young activist say to me recently, when is the Democratic Party going to realize it's okay to lose an election? The answer is never. Never. And I'll tell you what, we have lots of proof points in our country's history on this, but the most recent was, of course, in 2016. I, like many of you in this room, campaigned hard for Hillary Clinton, only to hear from people in our own party and other places, well, I'm not going to vote for Hillary Clinton because I don't like her. Well, of course, it didn't take a rocket scientist to understand what was going to happen if Hillary Clinton lost that race. The next president of the United States was going to appoint up to 2 to 3 Supreme Court justices, and the very values that we hold dear, many of the fights that people literally fought and died for in this country, were on the line. And June 24th of 2022, we saw the devastating consequences of that when the Supreme Court ruled in the Dobbs decision, stripping away the rights for millions of women and people in this country to make decisions over their own health care. But that's what every election is about. You see, I say this every election, and I'm sure the chairwoman does, and many of you in this room. How many of you have heard this before? This is the most important election of your lifetime. But I want you to ask yourself, isn't every election the most important of your lifetime? Every election matters. Every election has consequences, good and bad. Now, I say this, and people think I'm crazy when I go around the country and say this. I'm not here to win elections. None of you are here to win elections. It's not a sport where we pat ourselves on the back and say, look, thank God we won this election. You see, at the end of the day, Winning is just the beginning. Winning allows us to elect people to office who share our values so they can actually carry our values into those spaces and pass good public policy which improves. That's why each of you are here. It's not about our candidates. You see, when we zoom out for a moment and we realize that every election is not about our candidates, I love them all. They make great sacrifices to run for office, and they carry the torch for our values. But once we realize that every election is about the issues we fight for and the values that we hold dear and the type of state and country and world we want to live in, then suddenly those imperfections in candidates don't really matter at all. See, we have to are a big, and we have to build power together. You see, our big tent filled with conservative Democrats, centrist Democrats, progressives like me, and even this emerging left, all are welcome in this party. All are welcome in this party. It is our greatest strength. But it becomes our greatest weakness when we allow those differences to divide us, when we're not in the same boat, rowing in the same direction towards the same goal. We have to remind ourselves of that. I will tell you, I feel like I'm watching a tale of two countries right now. I was in Tallahassee, Florida, a few months ago with House Democrats there, their state capital, after they just suffered one of the most devastating election losses in 2022, at an all-time low, state legislators, their caucus. I was there on the day that they were debating a 6-week abortion ban. I want you to think about what's been happening in states like Florida. 6-week abortion ban, permitless carry bill they passed. They're prohibiting diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings. They're trying to whitewash history by banning books and changing curriculum. They're attacking the LGBTQ community. They're even attacking trans youth. That's what's happening in Tallahassee. That's what happens in Florida. That's not a country I know. That's not a country I recognize. Think about in Nashville, Tennessee, when they expel 3 people duly elected to the legislature because they had the temerity to stand up and attend a peaceful protest on gun violence after people were massacred in that city. In Ohio, Republicans can't win on their own ideas, so they try to change the rules midstream by putting a ballot initiative on the ballot. We are a country that recognizes one of the core tenets of our democracy is majority rule and one person, one vote. What did the Republicans try to do? They tried to change that. Well, we won. Democrats won. And you've heard speakers talk about Minnesota, and let me just, I'm a little biased. I'm proud. And I said this to someone earlier. I've been doing this a long time, 33 years. Paul Wellstone inspired me to this. I do this because Paul said once that politics is not about big money, special interest, not about the powerful. Politics is squarely about the improvement of lives. That's why I do this. That's why you do this work. So as Republicans are trying to push people out of the conversation and make it harder for people to live their lives, there are states like my home state of Minnesota and your state of Oregon that are working to improve people's lives, to strengthen community, and to build inclusive spaces. Think about this. Minnesota has passed arguably the most progressive agenda in the nation, all with a 1-seat legislative majority. We passed Paid Family and Medical Leave Act, the largest in the nation at 20 weeks. We passed the largest child tax credit in the nation, which is going to cut childhood poverty. Free college for low-wealth families, free school meals for all children, $3 billion of tax cuts for working families and low-wealth communities, the largest investment ever in our schools, $4 billion over the next 4 years, gun violence prevention measures, $1 billion investment in affordable housing, codifying abortion rights, carbon-free energy by 2040, restoring the vote to thousands of felons, driver's license for immigrants, legalizing gender-affirming care just like Oregon, making us a trans refuge state. We banned conversion therapy, and we legalized recreational use cannabis. That's all in one legislative session. As I said, every election matters. Every election has consequences, good and bad. Think about Florida. Think about Tennessee. Think about Texas. And then you think about Oregon. You think about Michigan. You think about Minnesota. The reality is every election has consequences. We have to remind voters of that. If you want to see your state improve, you want to see your country improve, we need to remind people that the only way to make your dreams possible is by getting out and voting. But you see, what Minnesota legislators and our elected officials understood is that power is fleeting. I want you to think about that. I'm going to be a little critical of some states on the West Coast here. Not yours. But there are some states and some on the East Coast who have long-standing, baked-in majorities. And they sit on their power. They take an incremental approach to governing. Why? Because they know they're never going to lose their seats. I want you to think about that for a moment and think about the ethos in which we approached governing in Minnesota. We're a purple state. Finally got a trifecta after 10 years. And we said, you know what? We have to use the power we have when we have it to make the biggest difference for as many people as we can. That's what we're doing in Minnesota. That's what you're doing in Oregon. You see, at the end of the day, even if you lose, win. What do I mean by that? We're not going to lose. But even if we lost, because of all that public policy we passed, generations of Minnesotans are going to be better off for what we do. And that's why we do this work. So look, Democrats, we have the tendency to be the Eeyore party, right? The woe is me, the half-glass empty party. This Democrat's too young, this Democrat's too old, this Democrat's too conservative, this Democrat's too progressive. We need to stop agonizing and start evangelizing, Democrats. We have an amazing story to tell, which I need each and every one of you in this room to get out and tell. There has been no president and vice president in the history of this nation that has done more to deliver for the American people than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They saved our economy from a post-COVID recession. They passed the largest infrastructure and jobs bill in a generation, the largest climate bill in history, appointed the most number of judges, and they passed the most significant gun safety reform in decades. They're making sure that our veterans get the health care they need, and they're bringing manufacturing jobs back to America. I could go on and on and on and on. But with a record like that to run on, I just don't get it when people wring their hands about the 2024 election, especially when you look at our Republican opposition. Chaos, dysfunction, division, and hate. This is your modern Republican Party coming apart at the seams in front of our eyes. Their presidential frontrunner is a twice impeached, cartoonishly corrupt, law-breaking insurrectionist facing more indictments than I can count. Their senators are playing politics with our national security by blocking promotions for hundreds of leaders in our armed forces. And their representatives can't even pick a speaker. Now, if they're looking for one, I have a lead on a great guy who wants a job, Hakeem Jeffries. Now, I hear people talk about a battle between establishment Republicans and populist Republicans. I honestly don't get it. From where I'm standing, it seems like a battle between extremist Republicans and incompetent Republicans. And in that respect, at least, Ron DeSantis is clearly a unity candidate. So, in all seriousness, though, our leaders are delivering, and Republicans are falling down on the job at every chance they get. There is a lot to be optimistic about, Democrats. It's important to remember those victories because as much as I love our party and our movement, there's one thing that I think we're often missing: a little optimism. And trust me, I get it. Optimism is hard for folks who share our values. It can be hard when there are so many wrongs left to right and so many fights left to fight. But for all that, it is essential that we take a step back and recognize the tremendous progress we are making. We need to celebrate our successes, and we need to make sure everyone else knows about them. If we're not willing to take joy in our accomplishments, how can we expect anyone else to? If we're not willing to sell our movement's wins to the world, how can we expect anyone to believe that it's worth their time to volunteer, door knock, or even vote? Here in Oregon, for example, Democrats in the legislature reaffirmed women's rights to reproductive freedoms and expanded access to gender-affirming care. At a time when these freedoms are so jeopardized in other parts of the country, Oregon stepped up. That's something Minnesota and Oregon have in common, by the way. And you didn't stop there, Oregon. Oregon Democrats took action on issues where we have seen too much delay and dysfunction in Congress, from affordable housing to gun control. And that's worth celebrating. All of you are worth celebrating. So stop agonizing. Stop agonizing, Democrats. Start evangelizing with a story like this, a story of Oregon, a story of Minnesota, a story of Michigan, and so many other states who are standing up and fighting back. We need to be singing this great story on every corner around this nation. And we also need to stop agonizing Democrats and start organizing. See, I heard your chairwoman talk about all these fancy titles out there. The one title I wear, and I'm most proud of, is organizer. You see, all of you are organizers. All of you do this work too, day in, day out. I will tell you, we win the way my mentor, Paul Wellstone, taught me. Door to door, neighbor to neighbor, person to person, building relationships with voters around their hopes and their dreams for their communities, making sure that we have the tough conversations with those closest to us, and being a champion for every voter, not every Democrat, every voter and every non-voter. Wherever they live, no matter their party, we need to be the champion in every single part of this country. Rural, suburban, urban. We leave no voter behind because every voter needs a champion. So look, I'm going to end where I began. I'm not here to win elections. None of you are either. Have to win elections to build power. Have to win elections to actually get something done. But the end goal is not to put a tally on the board, pat ourselves on the back, and say, boy, wasn't that fun. The end goal is to actually make a difference in people's lives. So let's keep fighting, Democrats, for an inclusive country that recognizes the dignity and worth of every person. Let's keep fighting for a country that affords opportunity to every person who works hard and believes in the beauty of their dreams. Let's keep fighting for a democracy that ensures more voices are participating and that all voices are represented. Let's keep fighting for a woman's right to choose, for our environment and planet, for immigration reform, for sensible gun reform, for public schools, for the right to organize and bargain collectively, for criminal justice reform, for fair taxation, for black and brown communities, for the LGBT communities, for trans youth, for peace, and lastly, Democrats. Let's keep fighting for a world that recognizes, despite our differences, we are all still united by a common thread of humanity. I want to thank all of you. Let's stand up. Let's keep fighting. Let's make sure we re-elect President Biden and Vice President Harris. Thank you so much, Oregon Democrats.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Now you can see why we love going to the ASDC meetings. We get to hear Ken. Thank you so much for that powerful message, those words of inspiration, encouragement, and so informative. Thank you so very much. And thank you for waiting. You waited all day. Thank you so much. As Democrats, we are so lucky to have minds like yours on our side. We really appreciate you, Ken. Thank you again for being here with us this weekend. You, all of you in this room, are truly the cornerstone of our party. Breakfast starts promptly at 8:15 in the Great Hall. You will not want to miss it. We have Speaker of the House Dan Rayfield and Senate President Rob Wagner to give you a legislative update. It's just exhilarating, right, Rob? Okay, thank you. We have a slate of fantastic panels tomorrow, and we'll close out the weekend with a meet and greet for our statewide candidates tomorrow morning at 11:15 a.m. This is an exciting opportunity to meet the Democrats who are running to be our next Secretary of State, Attorney General, and State Treasurer. And we must elect Democrats in those statewide roles. Make sure to attend so you can say these words. You knew them when. We know there are a number of unofficial hospitality events happening tonight. You can find info on the hospitality suites on the tables in the back of the room. Staff will be at the door to collect any last-minute donation envelopes. Everybody, see you tomorrow. Thank you.